Today I'm analyzing Ken Urker's body language in his most recent live stream where he defends his and Gypsy's alleged substance use and prior live stream to that, which I have also analyzed. Please go check that out if you haven't. This also comes from Conspiracy, as the previous video also did, so I will try to leave the full video in the description box below. Go check that out, and let's get started.
If I'm sniffling, oh, he must be on hardcore, you know what? It's always, if I were to just get ripped over the next 6 months, which won't happen, by the way, but if I did, it'd be, oh, he's on steroids. It's always going to be the most dramatic conclusion as possible. And if you don't believe me, which I'm sure a lot of you don't have to take my word for it, let's go ahead and talk about CPS. Maybe you can take this as facts.
I know there's not a lot to that particular very brief clip I just showed, but I do want to start this off by saying that Ken Urker doesn't have the flat affect that he did in the prior video. I did mention this in a community post as well. You don't see the perhaps stimulant-induced impulsivity that we saw in the prior video, and I will try to leave a comparison clip.
Live streaming, we can record it, whatever you want, but I challenge you to a boxing match. How about that? Let's do it. You can get all your anger out of
it. But, it's insane, but that's like I said, people jump to the most wildest and most ridiculous of conclusions.
But we don't see that we see here. In fact, in his prior live stream, he was discussing fighting Gypsy Rose's ex-husband, Ryan Anderson, and he had more of a flat affect, but he also wasn't as controlled with his words and wasn't aggressive the way you would expect to hear someone who is speaking about fighting someone else. We see that more here in this video defending himself and Gypsy than we saw in him actually discussing fighting someone else. So this difference in being impulsive, perhaps because of a stimulant, perhaps because of something else, we don't see that in the prior live stream, but we do see that here. We see aggressiveness here, we see more defensiveness here, we see more emotion here than we saw prior. We don't hear the sniffling, even though this is only really days apart. And then he's about to mention CPS. Now, CPS, Child Protective Services, doesn't usually open and close a case immediately, do drug testing immediately and without reason. And he's going to skew the timeline, so I'm going to discuss that. But I want to note that here as well. He's about to skew the timeline, so it seems that the substance use allegations were incorrect and already disproven. But what we're seeing instead is someone who perhaps has restarted substance use, perhaps even because that case was closed with CPS and now he feels safe to do so, which I mentioned in my previous video, that perhaps he feels that now there is nothing to hold them accountable, not that they were being held accountable in the first place, and so now he can start doing such things in front of the world, perhaps without consequence, even though now he's having to defend. And we're not hearing that sharp inhale, we're not seeing stimulant-induced impulsivity that we saw prior. Instead, what we're seeing here is someone who is about to tell us that he is going to take his time and be particular about what he says and be very careful that the live stream is not banned. And I also know that a few people want me to note the boxes in the back. Now, again, I think that the CPS timeline is so skewed that this is not about them running, but perhaps about the empty feeling of being in one place for too long, the boredom, perhaps. Ken does not like being in Louisiana. He has stated such before. Perhaps it's more that than what we believe it is, and he's running from something or they're running from something, because I don't fully believe that they have had a CPS investigation open and close that rapidly when the live stream is really very recent.
So before Aurora was born, we kind of knew that CPS would definitely be called on us by our snarks and haters and trolls, and we prepared for it. We knew that it's an unfortunate reality that we knew we were going to deal with, and they're going to report a bunch of false allegations against us, false lies, and just attack us in any way they can and just cause an uproar and hurt us as much as they can. So one day CPS comes by our house. This is not too long ago, and we're fully cooperative, so we let them come in. They toured our house, took pictures of everything. Even took pictures inside of our fridge for whatever reason. Took pictures of the inside of our drawers and our room, all kinds of crazy stuff. And of course they tested us, because these allegations were...
We are, of course, seeing a lot of discomfort as he discusses CPS, and that makes sense. CPS and any kind of investigation that might bring them consequences would cause anyone discomfort. But we're very much seeing that with his increased blink rate, him moving his chair around, he's not sitting still, he's not able to confidently focus and tell us what's going on. Now, he also wasn't able to do that as much in his prior live stream. But again, what we were hearing in the prior live stream was sharp inhaling that and sniffling that seemed to be more in line with substance use than with someone who was perhaps using a vape. There were not dust mites, there were not any indications that anyone else in the room was having the same problem. So this did not seem to be an allergy problem, and he does not seem to have that allergy problem here. We're seeing forehead creasing and eyebrow flashing where we should see it, but what we're also seeing here that we did not see in the prior live stream is him eye accessing, because people on substances that he allegedly was taking that would cause stimulant-induced impulsivity and the issues that are being alleged are not capable of eye accessing, of taking pause, of doing the very things that we're seeing him do in this live stream, where he's of course very uncomfortable, very defensive, but he's taking pause and being very particular about what he's saying, and we did not see that in the prior live stream. He's eye accessing, looking up here, thinking about what took place, recalling events, recalling information, things that we did not see in the prior live stream that he would not have been capable of under the influence of these substances that were alleged. And again, we don't hear the sniffling or anything else going on that we heard prior.
We're neglecting Aurora, we're leaving her at home to go out and party, and we're blowing wind in her face. And just not taking care of her. It was just all false, all BS. And so I knew that, inevitably we'd have to deal with a caseworker. And so she came over, she interviewed us separately, toured her house, took pictures of everything, made sure. And I'm trying to watch my verbiage on this because I know there are a lot of things you can say to get banned or get your live kicked off. So words I would never say. They made sure all of our pew-pews were locked up correctly and made sure that we didn't have any chemicals out and available. Just all the normal stuff. And
so again, he's skewing this timeline here. Perhaps they were at one point under investigation by CPS. Interestingly, what he says is, I know people would report false allegations. People would report false things. So there's a bit of skewing of timeline and language there as he discusses these allegations and the reports. He does not say people were to report things that were not true. He says they would report the false things. They would report false reports and not false incidents. He also tries to appear disgusted or in disbelief a bit there as he states, we were blowing in her face. He tries to appear as if this is a ridiculous statement, although we witnessed it on a live stream, Gypsy Rose blowing in her baby Aurora's face, hence why he cannot non-verbally commit fully to looking disgusted or as if this is absurd, which would be more a raised eyebrow, blind eyes perhaps, and not this brief raise of the side of the mouth there that is not fully committed to disgust or contempt or something being absurd.
When they, of course, tested us, and not only were UAs given, but hair was given. Okay, and just recently, as of a few months ago, our case was closed because nothing comes back. And they realized that as much as you guys don't want it to be true, as much as a lot of our haters and snarks there don't want it to be true, Aurora is in a very safe environment and in a very well taken care of household, and that's just a reality that y'all have to get over. So if you don't believe me when I say that I'm not using anything, you can believe the fact that our case file was closed and that we were tested for that case file to be closed. And our case will even change. Unfortunately, because of y'all's notoriety, I don't expect these false calls to stop coming in. Just up with her PO.
When he says, unfortunately, because of y'all's notoriety, he starts to eye access, again, which he was not capable of doing prior to this in the prior live stream where there was alleged substance use. He's also, again, skewing the timeline because it's not typical for CPS to open an investigation and close it so rapidly and be able to do testing for substance use and things that they allegedly did and most likely did prior to the previous live stream that he did, where he was very much sniffling.
There's been no NDA that's been signed. So, there you go.
I'm gonna have authenticity. Yeah.
And it seems that he did have stimulant-induced impulsivity. He was incapable of pausing and eye-accessing and thinking about what might cause a ban in the live stream. He was actually offering to fight, and there wasn't this aggression that we hear in this live stream in defense of himself and Gypsy that we should have heard in that live stream where he's discussing fighting Ryan Anderson. There's not this aggression there. There's more of a flat affect that you would see when someone is on a substance. Now I'm going to say all allegedly, possibly my opinion, but that's what we're seeing non-verbally. The stark comparison between someone who's capable of thinking in this very live stream about what he's going to say about what might get them banned, as opposed to what we saw in the prior live stream where there was a lot of sniffling, there wasn't pause or consideration of what might get the live stream banned. And it's pretty interesting that he would be that concerned about getting the live stream banned. I believe he really isn't. He's more concerned about taking pause about what's being said because he needs to be particular with his words, and so he uses that as a filler, as a space to give himself time to think about what he wants to say. What we're not seeing here is, I didn't do that. That's not what I'm doing. That's definitely not what I'm doing. What he says, skirting around the entire issue, is we were investigated by CPS at one point. That was closed, so we have haters. We're famous, and that's what this is people hating on us because we're famous. We were investigated, hair was given, whose hair, how much hair, I'm not going to say that. There's that bit of distancing language there, where it doesn't reference whether it's him or Gypsy or both. He does not specify, and he's being very particular with his wording and what the narrative is around this, just attempting to make it seem as if he just has haters, he's famous, she's famous, and that's all there is to it, but not directly saying that he is not on substance currently, he was not on substance in the previous live stream, and that this is for sure not what's going on.
Alright, this is the last thing I'm going to do before I leave. Okay, so to everybody who tells me I took his wife, okay, let me respond to that. I didn't take anybody's wife. The reality that he has a hard time gripping is that Gypsy left him. Gypsy didn't want to be with him anymore, and then we got together. So I didn't take anybody anything. Okay, everybody has their own right to live and, do what they want to do. And Gypsy decided, and that's just the reality. So to say that I took her from him is just a crazy statement. She had the option and the free will, and she made the decision to leave him because she realized she didn't want to be with the dude anymore. And then we got together. So no, I didn't take anyone from anyone. And the last thing I want to do is leave with this.
So towards the end of this live stream here, he of course has a microphone that does amplify the sound of the inhalation of the vape. But again, what we were seeing was sniffling and a lot of nonverbal cues that he had stimulant-induced impulsivity. Allegedly, my opinion, my belief, based on observable nonverbal cues. We did not see what we're seeing here. That's very different. There's a difference between someone who has just been using a vape, and I very much believe there was a vape involved in the last live stream, but that wasn't all that was involved in the last live stream. That's just, again, my belief, my opinion based on what I observed. And now he's using a microphone to make it appear as if this was the sound that we were hearing, even though prior to that he was not using a microphone in the prior live stream. And if the sound was just amplified by a microphone, that's what we would have been seeing in the last live stream. Aside from that, there's also further distancing language when he says, I didn't take anyone from anyone. I didn't take anyone's wife. He does not directly say, I did not take Gypsy from Ryan. I did not take Ryan's wife. He uses this distancing language there, and he's not capable of confidently sitting and saying, I did not take Ryan's wife. We very much saw that he did exactly that Gypsy was still married to Ryan when she and Ken got together. Hence why we see he's incapable of giving clear, consistent eye contact. We see eyebrow raising until he says the word wife, and we see rapid blinking there, him turning away to look at Gypsy. He's not capable of illustrating that he did in fact not take Ryan's wife. He's not direct and he's not emphatic in his behaviors, offering clear, consistent, nonverbal cues that he indeed did not take Ryan's wife. And very much we do know that he was with Gypsy while she was still married to Ryan. That has been confirmed, and so nonverbally he's not able to confidently express that that's what took place. I'm going to end this here. If you watched this far, thank you for watching. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Thank you for watching.